What's up, Sky Squad? We are back in the building, and look who we have with us. It is Adam from Up and Adam. Adam, how are you today?
Good, man. I couldn't be any better. It's a new year. We just watched Salt Lake City. I was actually pleasantly surprised by this episode. And now I'm jumping on here with you. I'm not complaining. Got a haircut. I feel good.
I did notice the hair looked a little crisper than normal. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I feel like I have this little cockatoo thing going on right now, but I'll get it together.
I like it. In the chatterization, as you guys always know, we like to know where you guys are watching from. So let me know in the chat where you guys are watching from, and let me know how you enjoyed last night's episode. Now, before we dive in, we like to always rate the episode over here, okay? And to me, this is always one of the most fun parts of any discussion of any recap that I do, because I love seeing what you guys would rate the episode on a scale of 1 to 10. And I like knowing what Adam is gonna rate the episode on a scale of 1 to 10. And disclaimer, I never think about this before I say it. I always it comes to me right then and there. And then I just think of my reasons why I'm giving it that. But Adam, what would you rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10?
So it wasn't my favorite episode, but I thought it was a good episode. So I'm going to give it you said we can do half numbers. I'm going to give it a 7.5. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Okay, I can appreciate that. I am actually, wait, why are you going to give it why are you giving it that score?
Well, the 7.5, it's because Meredith, I liked seeing that we have some reconciliation with her and her husband. I don't know if that was because they just brought up the whole potential other guy rumor at Jen Shah's husband's birthday party, and she's just trying to do damage control. We'll have to get into that. But I didn't see a whole lot of Mary Cosby, which I loved. And Jen Shah had another freak out, which I'm starting to get annoyed with. But hey, it gives us a little bit of substance.
All right, so I can appreciate that. Slight difference of opinion on one thing, and I think you already know what that is.
I know.
So for me, I'm going to actually give it an 8.
Okay.
So just a half step above you. And the reason I'm giving it an 8 is mostly because I felt like this episode was kind of layered. You know, I had an initial opinion about a lot of things that occurred, and I'll get into those as we kind of go into it. But then as something was explained further, I had a deeper appreciation of what was actually occurring with each of the ladies. Well, half of them. And we'll talk about which half in just a second. But otherwise, you know, for me, I was missing Mary Cosby. I've been missing her a bunch. Because Mary, to me, is funny, and she adds a little bit of quirk. It's that Kim Richards quirk that I'm missing in this show that they gave us so much of in the beginning, and now it's like they just took it away. You know what I mean?
Right.
So for me, I kind of feel like she's gone, girl. Okay.
No.
I feel like oh, somebody said, "What does my hat say?" It says Salt Lake City, state of Utah. So
I said very on brand.
I would be corny and do my little hat today. So I want to look at this post really quick by Bravo by Betches. Okay, they say investigating Mary's disappearance. For those of you guys who are like me and who are missing Mary, okay. We have a commenter who, by the name of Emmy Lately, who says she was originally filmed as a friend. It wasn't until the second production company took over and promoted her to full time, so they just don't have a lot of footage of her. What do you think about that?
I do believe the production statement, but also I'm wondering if there's any what I don't understand is I know that she's not going to film with Jen Shah, but like Lisa Barlow having her event with Meredith and doing the Vita Tequila thing. I don't know why Mary wasn't invited to that. And then also when Whitney goes to see Heather at the beauty lab, I don't know why Mary's not invited to that to maybe have a conversation and call her out in person as opposed to just calling her over the phone. I don't know. I can't really answer that. But like I said, you're the Mary fan, not me. I'm okay with not seeing a whole lot of Mary.
I just feel like the show is missing something when she is not on the screen with the ladies as much. I mean, it's a phone call here and there. She's on the show via, I mean, it's better than Eva, who was on the show via FaceTime on Real Housewives of Atlanta last season a lot. But I just kind of feel like it's something to me is missing. And then we are left with three of the women doing the heavy lifting, which is Jen, Whitney, and Heather.
Right.
To me, that just is how it seems to me. And so it makes me wonder, when the second production company took over, or at least when the first production company started this, you know, they didn't look at Mary and say she's reality TV gold. How did you miss this, to me? Because she gave us so much great content with Jen in the beginning, and she's such a big part of the story that I felt like, how would you not include her? And then I'm also giving it this 8 because there was something that Lisa said in the episode that also made me think. And I don't know if we're going to see it, but I had heard that at some point during the filming that someone got punched in the face. Lisa Barlow actually mentioned it last night. She says no one's throwing drinks or punching each other in the face. Did you catch that?
I didn't catch the punching each other in the face. No.
Yes, she said it. And I was like, I wonder if that got edited out. And I wonder who it was that had gotten socked in the face, because I did hear about it a couple of months ago, but we've seen nothing in the preview about it.
I would honestly have no idea who would be hit in the face unless it was just Jen finally snapped and hit Mary.
Or someone else was filming and we never got to see them.
Which could have been, are you talking about Sarah MacArthur Pierce?
Well, it could have been Sarah, who has been in a lot of the news lately because of her alleged participation in last week's insurrection on the Capitol. Okay, for those of you guys who don't know, Sarah MacArthur Pierce was a cast member, or at least a friend of the show on Salt Lake City. Last week, we saw her filming with Whitney. I believe Whitney went to her house, but she was also pictured in DC last week, visiting the Capitol during the riots. So, you know, a lot of people are now really upset and disgusted with her for participating in that. And I can't even find her on social media anymore. I don't know if she closed her account or anything like that.
No, I was looking at her Instagram this morning. You know, her page is private, but her Instagram stories are really intense with like the conspiracy stuff. And I did an interview with Whitney yesterday on live. And she was saying that she was receiving so much hate and backlash on social media because of filming that scene. And now everybody hates Sarah MacArthur Pierce for being involved, and they're associating Whitney because they've been friends for so long. But Whitney was like, I don't condone it, and I wasn't a part of it.
Yeah, I saw that Jen had posted something also in defense of Whitney with regards to that. So, you know, it's a crazy time right now. And I think I've even had conversations with you about not being able to watch certain shows because certain I guess it's just, now that we know so much about what we know about politics and, you know, Trump, it's very difficult for me, I think, as a Black man to watch some of these shows with people that support him and what he does. You know what I mean? So, you know, I can see why people would have made that association with Whitney, but it's also not a fair association as well.
Right. And I mean, again, there are people who can be friends and then they might have certain different beliefs, and sometimes it can be a melting pot. But then once they take their beliefs to just such, when they go so far left, you have to choose who you associate yourself with. And I bet you Whitney's probably not going to be associated with her anymore. I have a feeling. Yeah.
The other thing I want to say is, and someone here mentioned it, I think it's Hermine, says the Whitney Rose interview with Up and Adam was awesome. So guys, make sure to, after we're done, jump on over to Up and Adam's page to watch that interview. I need to watch it myself so I can get the pure joy out of it and add my little view to the count as well.
Hey,
so make sure you guys do watch that interview because we want to hear what she has to say about all of this. Now, I want to dive into the episode. You know, I'm just going to take this into two halves and make it very, very simple for us. In the first half, I'm going to discuss Meredith and Lisa. Okay? Because they are off in their own little world, in their own separate little show. I don't know what it's called, but they are off together in their own space. What do you think about this? Did you kind of feel like that as you were watching the episode?
Yeah, I feel like they're definitely a little team, you know, but also I like Meredith. I feel like Lisa is a yes woman. She's everything she loves. Everything is awesome. Love that. Awesome. Love that. It could be anything. But with Meredith, I like how stoic she is in the way she carries herself. Like when she goes like, thank you, I'm disengaging. And she just doesn't really feed into the drama. That's something that I like about her. But one thing that I question is, you know, all of this drama came to head at Sharif's birthday party where Whitney said that Jen was alluding to the fact that there's a bigger story about your marriage. Now, all of a sudden, the next episode, they've decided after a month of talking about separating, they've decided, okay, well, we're together and we're going to make this work. It just makes a lot of the viewers question, was that because you thought something was about to come out and you're doing damage control? Or are you guys actually making it work? So
I'm so glad you mentioned that. So just for those who missed it, to sort of recap, the scenes that we got last night with Meredith and Lisa were with their husbands, right? Initially, they went out to dinner and they sort of recapped their experiences with Jen exploding from the week before with their husbands separately. Then they got together. Meredith announced to Lisa Barlow that she and her husband were indeed back together officially, no more separation. And then we saw Lisa and Meredith participate in a sort of women's luncheon, I guess I should say, in what is it called? A turt?
Yeah.
Is it a turt?
Or a yurt.
A yurt. That's what it is.
Yeah.
A yurt. Okay. Which is kind of like it looked like an igloo to me. But it looked really awesome. Like I would love to do something like that in one of those. But, you know, and the talk was basically about, one, Jen overreacting to a certain degree. They did discuss that. Two, we found out that Meredith, I'm just going to give you my opinion about this. Meredith and Seth, to me, were laying it on a little thick. I just got to say that. I mean, them kissing at the restaurant, I was like, it looked like somebody told y'all to do this. It didn't feel natural. It didn't read natural on the screen to me. And it felt to me like we need to visually show the audience that you guys are back together. So I need you guys to kiss now. And she just looked uncomfortable to me. I don't know. That was my thought. Because I just
love
felt
that she was a little tipsy in the scenes too. And she's like, I want to tell you guys, Seth and I are back together. And it's like, what? Where are your eyes right now? I love Meredith, but in that
but
scene,
I feel like that's how she talks anyway.
Yeah, it's all in the eyes. You can always tell. Like, if I ever come home and I say to my fiance Jason, I'm like, no, yeah, I was at the mall. He's like, he'll look at me and he's like, why do your eyes look like that? Like you're all glazed over. And I'm like, what? You know, so for Meredith in the scene, I could read her by the eyes.
Okay. I'll leave it at that. But, you know, and I love how she skated around exactly. Well, at this point, I don't believe she knows what Jen told Whitney. I don't believe that Whitney from last episode did not articulate exactly what Jen has told us, the audience, which is that Meredith was spotted, I guess, leaving allegedly an event with another man. Okay. I don't know if Jen said that specifically to Whitney. Did she say that or not? She
was basically just alluding to the fact that there was potentially another man. And then Heather Gay ended up having the conversation. Remember when they took the snowmobiles out, and Whitney was like, have you heard about this? And Heather was like, oh yeah. Jen told me that she was seen with another guy and they looked a lot closer than friends or whatever the case was. So Jen had been talking to both Whitney and Heather about this. And if it is true, which I don't know if Jen would just make this up, but who knows? if it is true, I feel like Meredith knows exactly what she's talking about. But she's not going to just throw it out there first, just in case it wasn't on camera.
Okay. Well, here's what I want to know from your opinion and from you guys in the chat. Okay. The main question is, are Meredith and Lisa afraid of Jen Shah? I want you guys to answer in the chat. Adam, I want you to sound off on this.
Afraid of her for what? I mean, honestly, unless they just don't want to be snatched up because they feel like she might be a little, off the hinge sometimes. No, I don't think that Jen Shah has any pull in that town that Lisa Barlow and Meredith Marks don't have. And if anything, no, I wouldn't say that she was afraid. I think what happened was, again, we have somebody who is very well, she's very good at coaching a whole congregation and doing things that she wants, allegedly. And I think that she took maybe somebody who was the easiest to, or the most impressionable, which was Whitney. She planted a little seed there, fed her a story, and then Whitney took it and ran with it. And I think that she knew exactly what she was doing. Do I think that Lisa and Meredith jumped on a phone with Mary and they were like, oh my God, we're afraid of Jen. Like, no, we're scared of her. No way. I don't think that.
So I think I have a slightly different opinion. I think that, and I see some people in the comments saying exactly the same thing as well. I think that they're afraid of her reactions. And so I think that everybody on the cast walks on eggshells around her because they don't want that big reaction aimed at them.
Right. Okay.
And I think that Mary was right. I think Mary hit the nail on the head when she said, everybody's afraid of Jen except me. And I think that, it seems to be true that Mary is the only person who's just kind of like, I think that Mary is bothered by her, but I don't think she's afraid of her. I think that the other ladies are too afraid to tell Jen when she's acting outrageous, and they don't want to face the wrath that Jen may unleash on them should they ever decide that they wanted to tell her about her behavior.
See, I feel like with the dynamic that goes on with Jen Shah, Meredith, you have to remember they had sleepovers when their husbands were gone and they went to New York together. And Jen Shah is the only one who's apparently seen this person that Meredith was running around with. So they had a genuine friendship. I don't think that she would be afraid of her. I think that she would just as easily stick up to Jen as well. And I feel like Heather Gay also had a genuine friendship with Jen. And I think that I don't know. I don't feel like the women would be afraid of her. Her reactions, yes, they might be off the charts, but they know they're filming a show. They know that she's a little bit of a wild card. And honestly, if I knew that I had somebody on an ensemble cast who had a reaction like that, sure, I may not be the biggest fan of Mary Cosby, but I would play it like Mary and I would say whatever that would make her pop off because it makes good for a good TV.
It's interesting to me. They just, to me, based on what they say in the scene about even when Lisa said, well, no one here is going to throw a glass, obviously you don't approve of that behavior.
Right.
So why wouldn't you tell her that? It's like, say it to her face, tell her like, girl, you're doing too much if that's how you feel. Right. And to me, I'm kind of basing it on what they're doing when she's not around and what they're saying when she's not there. It's like, well, if you felt like that, then you should just say something to her. You're not even going to invite her to your ladies' luncheon because you don't want someone there who you think is going to act out.
Right. Well, technically, though, just to be fair, I don't know if the ladies' luncheon would have been appropriate because at the yurt, each of the women who showed up to this, they had a jewelry line or a makeup line or was a fashion blogger. They had these different companies. Even though Jen Shah has a marketing company, I feel like maybe that wouldn't have been the most appropriate place. But I'm curious to see if we do get a conversation later in the season with Meredith and also Lisa Barlow and maybe even the rest of the cast just telling Jen, like, look, your behavior it's starting to be ridiculous. And like your reactions are way too big. You have to talk to somebody.
Speaking of which, I want to dive into Jen. Heather and Whitney. My question for you guys again, do you think that Heather and Whitney are afraid of Jen or Jen's reactions? Comment in the chat below. Wait, I have to acknowledge this.
What does that mean?
No, Jamal is not coming. It is so remember if you saw the Real Housewives of Potomac reunion when Karen asked Giselle, is Jamal coming? People have just been posting that randomly in my chats, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I 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 love it. So yeah, question, do you guys think that Whitney and Heather are afraid of Jen? Let me know. Adam, sound off on that.
I honestly, I don't, if anybody, they're the ones who are at least pulling her aside and having the tougher conversation. What I didn't understand was when they were sitting in the bathtubs, one, Heather was taking way too much responsibility for everything that happened, that wasn't fair. And Whitney was throwing that on Heather. But then also Whitney is the one who, she's almost like, she throws it out there and doesn't know what the reaction is going to be, but she's still at least willing to throw it out there and say what it is. But when Heather said to Jen, I'm afraid. And she's like, afraid of what? She's like, losing you as a friend. Why? Is there something that Jen offers you? Is being associated with Jen? Does that help her business? Is there, because like for anybody, you don't want a friend who's you're going to be afraid of. So why would you be so afraid of losing her as a friend if you were afraid of her?
I'm glad you mentioned that. There was something that I saw yesterday. Oh my God, there was something that she said somewhere that just really, it was actually about her own behavior that she said she felt like was cringy with regards to this friendship. If I find it later, I'll just have to post it in the community tab. But here's the thing. This is what I think happened. And I'm just going to be very honest with you. Just kind of knowing reality TV, what I think happened is producers pulled Whitney aside and said, girl, you're going to need to tell Jen what these two girls have been saying over here as per Mary, okay? You're going to need to do it. And Whitney kind of being like, oh, well, I need to earn my paycheck, had rehearsed this speech in her head, which is why she could not get it out. Did you guys last week see her stumbling through that speech, trying to utter the words to tell her? So Heather jumps in because now that we know, Heather is thinking, I'm losing my friend Jen to these girls over here. Oh no, no, these girls ain't what you think that they are. This is what they were saying. They were talking about you to Mary. I feel like that's what happened. Okay. Jen heard that, and all she heard was somebody's talking about me. Now, my next question is, do you think that party was the appropriate place to tell Jen that? Whose fault was the blow up?
It was technically
was it Whitney's fault or was it Jen's fault that she blew up? Whose fault was it?
And listen, it's actually, there's three people whose fault, who is at fault here. I think that Mary planted a seed. I don't think that she actually had that conversation. I really don't with Lisa and Meredith. Honest to God, I don't. And it's appropriate to say that, especially because she is the leader of a Pentecostal church. Secondly, I think Whitney, it's all about time and place. That was not the time or place to bring that up, especially when she did have a conversation with Jen about how important this party was. And she knows that Jen has the ability to pop off. But third, Jen is an adult and she should be able to control her emotions. If you come up to me and I was at an event and you tell me that my best friend's sleeping with my fiance or something like that, I'm going to cringe. I'm going to drink my champagne. I'm going to wait till that event's over. And then I'm going to be on an episode of Wives with Knives. That's how that would go.
But Adam, that is because you are self-aware. You have evolved. You know yourself well enough to know that this isn't the time or the place. I shouldn't do this here. I will handle this later, and whatever happens, happens, right?
Right.
This was my thought as I watched it. First of all, I felt like Jen was putting, okay, a couple of things. One, Whitney definitely should not have told her at that party because A, you know this girl is liable to pop off at any time, and she's been drinking. Now, to me, that is part of the reason why I would not have done it either, simply because I know the girl has been drinking. If I know my friend and I know my friend is liable to pop off when she drinks, I'm not going to tell her today. Producers, y'all going to have to be mad at me, dock my pay, because she's not going to be mad at me, okay? Been there, done that in real life, okay? Been there, done that in real life, I know. The next thing, though, is, you know, I do think that Heather took a lot of ownership in that situation that she didn't need to take, okay? And I felt like she took that because she didn't want Jen to be mad. And she wanted to sort of put the issue to rest by putting it all on herself, because she knew that if she put it on herself, that Jen wouldn't be as mad.
No, I agree with that, because she has a better relationship with Jen than Whitney does. So by her taking the blame, it's almost, yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. But also, I think it's a little ridiculous, and I think Heather is somewhat of a voice of reason for this cast. When Jen's like, Whitney, you ruined my marriage. It's like, no, she didn't. You're complaining about your marriage already.
That's the part that I feel like, you know, Jen did not take any ownership for her own behavior at this event. It was all her. Would that situation have made me mad? No, really, because ultimately, if you came up to me and told me that two of my friends told someone else that they were afraid of me, my ultimate thought is, I don't want my friends to feel like that. Like, I'll deal with that at another time, but it wouldn't make me mad.
Right.
So
right.
And I guess she maybe had heard it the way that Heather told it, and less how Whitney told it. Okay, because Whitney couldn't even really get it out.
She spoke it in circles.
Now, the key is going to be really what happens with Meredith and Jen moving forward because of what Whitney told her. Now, to me, that was the messy stuff, but we'll get to that at another time because they ain't really addressed that yet, okay? What did you think of this scene that we had finally gotten with Jen and Heather and Whitney at the spa that was 4 hours away, okay? What did you think about Jen and her reaction, you know, with regards to splashing the water at the producers and all that good stuff?
Well, here's the thing. When we see it on the episode, we see like a little bit of like she pulls up, she was driving, you know, they're walking up this hill. It seems like it's boom, boom, boom. And it's a matter of 10 minutes before they're in this bathtub. Right. And then I'm thinking about her reaction. I'm like, are your reactions always this big? Because at the party you're drinking. Here, were you drinking? But then when Heather calls her back into the pool, she gets in with her flask. And I'm like, oh, you have been drinking. And that's why your assistant came with you, because your assistant's driving you home. And that makes so much more sense, because this is another reaction that is alcohol induced. And that's why it's so big. That's why she has these big reactions. So there's obviously a common denominator here, which would be, you know.
Pause. Did you say she had a flask?
Yeah. You didn't see her when Heather's like, get back in the tub. And she comes back in and she has this like little flask. I'm like,
I missed that.
No. See, that's funny because you catch everything. No, she got in with the flask and she sat there and she's holding the flask. And I'm thinking in my head, because at first I was like, why did your assistant come with you up the hill? And maybe she was doing work in the car or whatever. But then once I saw the flask, I was like, oh, you know, you're doing a spa date. You know, you're going to have a few drinks. That's exactly why she came. She's driving you home.
Wow.
They're saying in the comments, you should have a flask. Yeah.
You know, I do try to notice little details, but honestly, the show come on so late, I'm fighting sleep and trying to watch at the same time. Okay.
Me too. After 2 bottles of wine, I'm like dying watching
So now this adds another layer to this, and I do want to address, and we'll come back to that. I'm going to bookmark that for a second. Heather, to me, I felt like she was taking so much ownership in this situation. And then she admits that she's afraid that she's going to lose her friendship with Jen to Meredith and Lisa, which it really brought home a whole nother issue for Heather, for me. And I felt like I liked her even more. Because I feel like she's able to vocalize this level of vulnerability that most people can't do on a reality TV show.
No, I agree with that. I think that with Heather, she has this authentic way of being about herself. And I think that she has, without being on a reality show in her real life, she's had to pretend to be something that she's not for so long. And I think now, at the point that she's decided to invite cameras into her life, she's like, you know what? I'm just going to lay it all out there. I'm going to be me, the me that I want to be now. And this is the perfect platform to do it. And I feel like, yeah, honestly, I think her and Whitney are probably the most authentic ones. Even talking to Whitney yesterday, we were talking about the fact that she's a very successful businesswoman. She has a successful skincare line. And
I wish we saw more of that on the show.
Well, she was talking about it, and she almost threw a little bit of shade at like Lisa Barlow and stuff. And she's like, "Listen, I didn't use the show as a platform to be a sales agent for my product." But she said that, you know, my storyline was about my father's sobriety, and we wanted to showcase more of that. Once my father made the conscious decision to invite the cameras into his therapy session and into filming. You know, she's like, we went that direction with it. She said, maybe next season, if there is a next season, yeah, I'll showcase more of my family dynamic. Like she was saying, she's a grandmother. Her stepchildren are only 4 or 5 years younger than her. There's a lot of stuff that's going on in Whitney's life that we don't really see because her main storyline is her father.
So between her and then Heather talking about her abandonment issues as it relates to Jen and then going back to her husband, I just like the two of them even more as the episodes go on, despite Whitney's sort of messiness from last week, because I understand why she did it.
I enjoyed it.
It was a mess, right? The last thing I want to touch on is Jen and Coach Shah. They have a discussion at the end of the episode about, you know, he hasn't spoken to her in 4 days. I don't know if he's not been home, where he been staying at, or what's going on with that. But something I realized, and as I'm saying this, I know that Jen is kind of polarizing for a lot of people. But one of the things that Heather was saying, and I think it was in an interview, was that she said that, you know, people think that Jen is overreacting or acting for the cameras. And Heather said, no, that's just actually who she is. She's always been like that. And she said, if anything, I thought she was going to tone it down for the cameras. But we all know that that doesn't make for a good show. Right. But this is apparently who she is. So in hearing that and then watching this scene, there was something that I appreciated more about her, because I like seeing the dynamics of the hard and the soft sides to her, right? She's not always right. She's not always wrong, but I can appreciate seeing someone who has different layers, even if sometimes on camera, it doesn't read always as an authentic reaction. Hearing it from Heather validated that these reactions that she's having are really how she's reacting. Right. Okay. And she's not able to really see her or own what she did. Case in point, in this conversation with Coach Shah, they did not address what she did at the party. They addressed only that she's been drinking so much because he has been traveling so much. So the issue did not even it wasn't even about discussing her behavior as a result of the drinking. It was really just about discussing well, I drink because you aren't here enough. Did you feel like that, or was it just me? I feel like I was like, well, we're not going to discuss your behavior.
Well, I feel like once you start discussing, like, I mean, yeah, they could have discussed the behavior, but then you're starting to like teeter down from what the real problem was, which they addressed, which is the drinking, right? But if you're drinking so much, have you always been drinking like this? Or as her husband, who's been with her for, what did they say, 25 years? Something like that. As her husband, who's been with her for 25 years, he might notice that drinking is at a whole new level, which is something that we wouldn't know because we don't know her. Right. But then if he's talking to her about that and he's like, what are you doing? And then she just looks at him and she's like, I'm mad. You know, I thank God have not lost a parent. And I couldn't even imagine what that would be like. And I honestly, I'm somebody who gets like super sensitive in my feelings. And I would probably go ghost for like months if God forbid that day, when that day happens. But for her, she has a business to run. She has a family. She has, you know, she has kids and everything. So I think that she was over drinking to compensate for the fact that her husband was gone. And then I think it really just made her so angry, the fact that he did not show up, didn't take time off of work for her dad's funeral. I think she felt a little disrespected, because you have to remember too, when they're talking about the first date, he was saying that when she showed up for the first date, the whole family showed up for the first date. So she's obviously very family oriented. So this would bother her.
Yeah. And I think those are the things that make me, even though I personally feel like she made that situation about her, it did not make me dislike her. I liked her more as a result of it, because I always appreciate whether a housewife is wrong or whether they're right. If I feel like they are genuine about how they feel, then to me, I can rock with that person.
Right.
And I felt like in that moment, I can rock with her because regardless of the fact that he felt embarrassed, she's stating what her issue is. And it's still affecting her, just like you said. But I still feel like she was wrong, and they didn't really address how he felt.
Right.
But I think it just goes to show what a stand-up guy he seems to be, because of the way he just listened.
I think that I honestly think he has a real talent in listening, to be fair, and trying to understand why someone is programmed or operates a certain way. And honestly, for this man, he has a career. You know, I know that she has a marketing company too, but this is really her platform to do whatever she wants with, and he's just there along for the ride. So I think, sure, could he have went more in depth in that conversation? Yeah. Could he have made her look and feel silly? Absolutely. But he said, you know what? I don't like your drinking, but now I understand. You know, I love you. Thank you for having this conversation. But a lot of people are saying right here in the comments that I'm reading too, and it's true, her assistant is always reminding her every day to take her medication. And when you're taking medication and stuff, who knows what that medication is? But when you start mixing things with alcohol, and you're adding a lot of substances in your body, that's going to create, you know, a different outcome, as opposed to if you were just completely sober from all substances.
Miss T in the comments says, so Jen projects her anger onto the wrong people. I think that we can all agree that happens as well.
I agree.
So next week we have the ladies on, I guess, their sort of season ending cast trip to Las Vegas. Adam, what are you looking forward to as we head into the final episodes of this season, in particular this next coming episode and the reunion?
One, I want everybody to be in powder blue at the reunion. I want that snowflake, like fun snow. I just want to see what their looks are, just because that's me. As far as the Vegas trip, I want to see a little bit of crazy. But the fact that one thing I don't like already that I saw in the Vegas trip is, again, we're dealing with somebody who has big reactions when it's alcohol induced. You're going to Vegas, you're going to be drinking. And then I hear her yelling at Heather again about how Whitney ruined her marriage. And it's like, we can't continue to go backwards. And it seems like that's becoming a theme. And I really like Jen Shah, but even when Mary apologized, you shouldn't have accepted the apology. She said, I accepted it in the moment because I didn't want to ruin my party. No, tell Mary, okay, I'm sorry. This isn't a conversation I want to have at my party. You can leave. I don't accept that right now. There's a bigger conversation to be had. We'll have that later. But instead, she accepted it. And when you accept it and you agree to move forward, you need to lead with that foot, because that's the same thing that she just did with Whitney. She hugged it out and she's moving forward. But all of a sudden, you start getting a little bit of this. This is just water, but getting a little bit of this, and you're like, you're going backwards. And that's not conducive to a healthy situation at all. But that's what I want to see.
Well, we like the honesty. I think, I always love a cash trip. I love Vegas. So it's not a hard sell for me. I'm going to be all in for it. Oddly enough, as I watched the episode on Hulu Live, right? So when I'm watching the preview for the next episode, it gets cut off because Watch What Happens Live always comes in right before the end of the preview clip. So I'm always frustrated, like, well, what happened? I didn't see it all, but I did see the beginning of, Jen still yelling at Heather about her marriage almost being ruined by herself. Okay. It's her reactions that are causing these things, but I'm looking forward to that. People ask if Mary has left. No, she's not left the show. She just didn't have as much content to film because the new production, I don't know what happened. It sounded all kinds of crazy, but somebody said fight night in Vegas.
Hermione.
Will Mary be on the cast trip? I don't think it seemed like she was there.
I don't think it looked like she was there either. I could be wrong, but I don't think it looked like she was there either.
Was there someone else there in her place? I thought I saw another face there, but I couldn't be sure of it.
I'll have to go back and rewatch. But honestly, do you know how many episodes we have left?
I feel like it's 13.
Okay.
I could be wrong, though.
Everybody's like, well, we don't think that they would be, well, not everybody, but some people are like, we don't think they're going to be renewed for a second season. I 100% absolutely think that they will be renewed.
Oh, I believe it too, because I think based on what Andy said, even though the ratings were low, it was still, they still felt like it was a hit.
Yeah.
So to me, I think that they're a shoe-in for season 2, the reunion. I too would like for an icy blue or blue and white or blue and champagne sort of colors, theme.
Blue and champagne.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all. I think that could be really, really nice in terms of looking at the theme, looking at their intro cards, as well as the set, what we saw of Andy's suit. I feel like we could be in for those color combinations. So we'll just have to wait and see. I'm surprised we haven't gotten a look at the actual looks yet. Usually Bravo in this past year has been putting out the reunion looks a couple of weeks beforehand, but who knows?
Well, and I was surprised. I was watching all of the women's Instagram stories that day. I was waiting for something. I was even watching Andy's, and he was just like, we're filming. But you know how like in Potomac, he was giving us a little bit of like insight and kind of letting us, I mean, not just teasing us. We didn't get teased at all with this reunion, but I do know, unless the reunion changed something, that Jen Shah and Meredith haven't resolved anything until then. So hopefully they do at that point. But I think that Meredith might have just wiped her hands with her. I think she might be one of those women, like, if you burn me, I'm going to forgive you and I'm going to forget you. Very Lisa Vanderpump of her.
And she kind of gives me Lisa Vanderpump vibes to a certain degree.
Yeah, she's stoic. She has that way about, like, she's not going to engage, and that's something that would be hard to do, especially when you have, I mean, you know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but for viewers, like, being around and having 4 to 6 cameras in your face, somebody like Jen Shah, that's not healthy, because if you already have big reactions, those cameras make your reactions even bigger. I don't know how many reality stars could tone it down when they, first of all, you're taking a big personality already. That's why they're on television, right? And then you're putting the cameras in their face. If I would have gotten mad at you and I'm having a conversation with you with no cameras, it might be like, oh, okay, well, screw off or something like that. But if there's cameras, I would be slinging candles and stuff too. Like, I'm going to give you that reaction, get the camera out of my face. And then they shove it like they're paparazzi. It's intense, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. You know what I did watch, and as I said, I would never watch. Just to give you a little bit of a...
Don't say Orange County.
I watched 30 minutes of Orange County last night, and I had to turn it off. I was like, if this is what this season gave, this was a hard watch.
It was the lowest rated season, and January 6th, Wednesday, was the lowest rated episode ever at 822,000 viewers. And Kelly Dodd is always quick to pop off, and explain. And she was saying that this, without the OGs, Tamara and Vicky, this is going to be an Emmy Award winning season. No, this was a dud. What they need to do is they have to fire Elizabeth Lynn Vargas and Emily Simpson. They need to bring Tamara Judge back because she's gunning for Shannon. They have to get Kelly Dodd off the screen because people are boycotting it, and they need to bring back Heather Dubrow because we need that nostalgic. We need money, and also somebody who's not like, I have money. It's like, no, she just exudes money. So we need a cast change up for sure. If they want to keep this franchise going, they need put me in casting. I have some time.
They need a dramatic shakeup.
Yeah.
Adam, thank you so much for participating yet again for this crazy, wild recap for Salt Lake City. Tell the people where they can find you and what else you have going on.
Yeah.
Guys, make sure you check out his interview with Whitney as well.
Oh, thanks. You guys can find me on YouTube at Up and Adam. I'm actually excited. This week was a busy week. We did an interview with Whitney. If anybody watches Below Deck, on Friday, I have Chef Rachel coming on. And then next week, I know that we all love Monique from Real Housewives of Potomac. I know everybody else has had their chance to talk with her. Yeah, I know you have, All About the Tea, RJ Allen. You guys all have spoken with her, but I've been dying to speak with her, especially since I did my interview with Candace. So I get that opportunity next week. We were supposed to do it Friday, but we had to reschedule. But yeah, just recaps and stuff coming up. I'm following the Erica Girardi case super close, and I can't wait to see what else unravels from that. And if anybody missed it, go check out the Real Housewives of New Jersey trailer. I think that's going to be an explosive season.
I will definitely be watching New Jersey.
I think so.
Let me ask you this before you go. Are you a Teresa fan or a Melissa fan? I find that people are usually one or the other.
It depends. Like if I were to hang out with them, Melissa, I've met Melissa in person and she's an absolute sweetheart. But if it comes down to who I think makes for better television, it's Teresa.
Yeah, I'm more of a Melissa person myself, simply because I feel like Teresa knows how to make good TV, but it's just what she's willing to do to make it. Sometimes I'm just not here for.
No, she gets dirty.
She gets dirty. Okay, she gets down and dirty, but for some reason I don't dislike her. She just doesn't seem as. I think Melissa is better at it than Teresa.
I think Melissa also, she came on the first season and she was like kind of flirty fun. I think with each season, she's getting more and more well-versed in how all of this works. She sees how her sister-in-law looks. And I think that she wants to maintain that same sort of relevancy, but also not be portrayed in the same way. Like Teresa, again, go behind the scenes when Danielle Staub yanked Margaret down by her hair. We found out at the reunion that Teresa was the one who was like, go pull. And it's like she's on season 11 and she's been on 11 seasons now for a reason. She knows what she's doing. She knows what it takes from the rating to get good ratings. And yeah, she's a good watch. I like her.
But you know what I loved about that situation? That it was Melissa who outed it. that to me was like, wow.
See, real quick before we go too, I have to say I did an interview with Kim D. Who she was known as like one of the villains of New Jersey, right? She was always stirring the pot, had the posh fashion show. And I asked her, I said, did you like being the villain? And she said, I'd rather be a villain than a victim. And I was like, okay. But I said, what would you do if you could change the cast? How would you change it? And she said, I don't like, and a lot of the cast would agree with her, that Melissa and Teresa are on the show together. Because what happens is none of the rest of the cast will go against either one of them, because once they do, Melissa and Teresa are going to team up and make sure that person is taken off of the cast. And it does make for not so much of an even playing field at this point, because even like Jackie Goldschneider, she goes after Teresa and Teresa goes after her, but she maintains her friendship with Melissa. That's how she stays on the show. But it's like when you have two people who are kind of leading the franchise at this point, yeah, that could be kind of hard to navigate unless you're one of those two people.
I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm excited. Honestly, what's funny is I'm excited about Jersey, Beverly Hills, and New York.
Beverly Hills is going to be so good.
I am salivating.
Well, because we just had some crappy seasons of, you know what I mean? Like Salt Lake City wasn't crappy, but it was a rookie season. So this was our get to know them season. Orange County was a bust. Potomac just honestly, I think, made us all mad by the end of it because we were just like, this is unfortunate and unfair to some capacity, whether we don't even have to jump into that. But, you know, in Atlanta right now, I'm finding it that it's a slow pickup. So, yeah, we need Beverly Hills, New York, and New Jersey.
Yeah, I just feel like they're going to give us, especially Jersey right now, it's looking like it's going to give us some promise there.
You get that Italian fire and blood and they get boiling and they're like, yeah. And you're like, oh,
yes, all that. Did you tell everybody where they can find you in terms of Instagram and YouTube and all that?
Yeah, find me on YouTube at Up and Adam. And then on Instagram, it's at ADAMCOYNEWELL. Maybe I should change that to Up and Adam one day, but I don't know, man. I'm just always on YouTube. I just focus myself on YouTube.
I totally get it. I'm right there with you. Skye Squad, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel, giving you guys the rundown on the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you in the next video.
Bye, guys.